No.
Okay, we're gonna. I didn't have you do the embolden. We're only going to do embolden 1. We're gonna talk about that, and then we'll do the equip that you did yesterday. And that's really all we're doing. I was gonna have you guys read just a little bit more, but because of last hour being shorter for us, we didn't get to that. So we'll just knock off after we do this. These questions. So the emboldened number 1 says this: why is the resurrection of Jesus important to Christianity? Yes.
Death and resurrection is what the entire religion is based on.
Right.
He's dying for us and rising again.
Right. That the entire structure of Christianity requires that Jesus died and rose again. And if the resurrection is true, it's all true. If the resurrection is false, it's all false. Christianity is of no importance. It is the fulcrum of not just history, but of our Christian faith. So its importance is supreme importance to Christianity. What is it that one scholars? Christianity without the resurrection isn't just Christianity without its last chapter. It's not Christianity at all. And I believe that's a true statement. It's a bold statement, but it's a true statement. Okay, so now we're going to do the equip that you wrote down yesterday. So write down an abbreviated version of the 12 points concerning Jesus and Christianity that are agreed upon by both liberal and conservative scholars. And that's really important, because if you can get a liberal scholar and a conservative scholar to say, yep, we both agree on this about the Bible or about Jesus or about the resurrection or whatever it is, then you can be really sure that it's true. Now, some of these aren't written as specifically as a Christian might read it, and I think the book tells you where they say that, and they're not saying this, but they are saying something else that is true. So we're going to go through these and talk about them a little bit. So what's the first one? Yes. Yes, Jesus died by Roman crucifixion. And then what's the second one? Yes.
Buried in a private tomb.
Yes, he was buried most likely in a private tomb. Yes, I mean, if I was saying this, I believe that he was buried in a private tomb. But the most likely comes, so yes, the scholars that are that are on the left are okay with that, right? Yeah, conservative and yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Anna.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing? Why are we?
Well, it's the same idea. I'm not talking about politics, but
So what do you
it's
mean
so
by
it's,
that? What do you mean by that? That you're not talking about politics?
yeah, but
Everything is.
it works for that too, because those who are conservative believe that the Bible is true, and those scholars do, and the scholars that are liberal don't believe some of the things. So that's the point of this whole thing. These are things that both of those sides, both of those factions believe. Conservative and liberal can be used in a number of different ways. I was a social studies teacher. It can be used for a number of things. I had a professor who was liberal, and I've told you this before. He said, I have no problem with Joseph being the biological father of Jesus. That changes the story a lot, right? Then Jesus is just a man. He's not God. So that's what I mean. That those who are more conservative would say that he is the Son of God and he is the God man. He was born to Mary by the Holy Spirit.
Like Christians not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even some Christian. I mean, I went to a Christian college, and it was pretty liberal. Not as liberal as some.
BYU.
BYU.
Oh, wait, I meant
is-
Bethel. I meant Bethel. Isn't Bethel like crazy liberal?
Back in my day, do you mean Bethel in Minnesota?
I think there's only one Bethel.
Oh, there are lots
I
of
know
Bethels.
one Bethel.
But is it in Minnesota? Olivia, is it in Minnesota?
I have no idea. I know of Bethel and I know of Bethel.
Well, they're more.
I'm telling you. Oh, okay. I'm telling you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it's located.
Okay. I just want to say, if it's the one in Minnesota, when I was in Minnesota, and this is a long time ago, it was one of the more conservative Lutheran colleges.
Do you consider yourself?
That may not be true now, because I haven't thought about Bethel in years.
Would you consider yourself like liberal or conservative?
Do you have to ask?
Well, you asked this morning if I was going to say an inappropriate joke. I get you back.
Okay, yeah, I deserve that.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a conservative. I wouldn't have a job here if I wasn't, but I am. I am. Okay, what's the third one?
What's the what?
Number 3. What's number 3?
Me.
Yes.
The disciples were discouraged, bereaved, and despondent. I can't
Yeah.
remember what I said.
Bereaved. It's fine. I say the wrong word all the time.
Hey, Aubrey.
Bereaved.
I'm so sorry. I've never heard
Okay.
of your condescending and the demoralizing attitude can take a hike.
Okay, we gotta.
Don't ever talk to me.
The other one died, so this one has to go out on YouTube. So
What died?
the last class,
Aubrey
like,
makes fun of
the
me one more
video.
time. All I said was the word that you said.
Okay, can we? Here we go. Talk about it at lunch.
We're convinced. I'll talk about it.
So number 3, the disciples were initially discouraged and lost hope. They were in the upper room and they were despondent. They believed that they knew that Jesus had died, but they believed that he would never come back. He told them, but they didn't remember that. That happens sometimes. So they were initially discouraged and they lost hope. Number 4. Yes.
Tomb was found empty.
Yes. The tomb was found empty soon afterward. So they don't say on the 3rd day, but soon afterward. What's number 5? Yes.
The disciples had experiences
Right. That's a good way of putting it. What I wrote down, which I don't think is as good as yours, is the disciples believed that they saw the risen Christ, that he had risen from the dead, and they saw him. Number 6. Yes.
the disciples' lives and belief thoroughly changed, and they were willing to die.
Yeah, we've talked about this, right? Their disciples, their lives completely changed after they saw the risen Christ. They were cowering in that upper room, and they were wondering, "Are we next?" They didn't want to go anywhere, but then Jesus shows up, just materializes, And everything changed for the rest of their lives. They went to their deaths proclaiming the resurrection of Jesus. And as I've told you before, if the resurrection is true, it's all true. If the resurrection is false, it's all false. So they were willing to die only because they saw the risen Christ after he died. Number 6. Oh no, I just did that one. Sorry. Number 7.
Proclamation of the resurrection.
Right. They more or less immediately started proclaiming the resurrection of Jesus, knowing it would get them into trouble, knowing that it would anger the Jewish leadership that crucified Jesus. So the proclamation of the resurrection happened very early, almost immediately. Number 8. Yes.
The public testimony and preaching took place in Jerusalem where Jesus.
So now, after Jesus appears to them, and then after his resurrection, they go to the same place and to the same people to tell about Jesus' resurrection. And they're trying to convince the very people who crucified Jesus. Again, you don't do that without knowing that it's true. And they were in a position to know it was true. And so that's why they were willing to preach in the same place where Jesus was crucified. Number 9. Yes.
The gospel message centered around his.
Right. The message was centered on Jesus' death and resurrection. And that is what does Paul say? I preach Jesus and him crucified. And that's what they did. Then number 11. Yes.
James was a skeptic before him.
Yeah, James was converted after seeing Jesus alive. James was a skeptic, right? He wasn't a believer before Jesus rose from the dead. He became a believer when Jesus appeared to him, and he became the leader of the Jerusalem church. Now, how do I know it's that James and not John's brother? John's brother was martyred very early. So what? I think he was. So James, the brother of Jesus, half brother of Jesus, was martyred very early. So this James, this what? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. What? I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. Yeah, James the disciple was murdered early. So his brother became the leader of the church, and he was he is the author of James in the Bible, in the New Testament. That's that James, not James, the brother of John. Okay, what's 12? Yes.
Paul became a believer due to.
Paul becomes a believer. What was he doing before that? He was persecuting Christians. He became, and there were people that, like Peter was like, oh, I don't know if we can trust this guy after Paul was converted. So Jesus appeared to Paul as well. Paul, Jesus appeared to Paul, and he became a believer on the spot. You know that story. And he became the greatest evangelist the world has ever known. Christian evangelist the world has ever known. What?
Billy
Well, that's a good point. I love Billy Graham. But I think through his letters, he reached more people than he did. Maybe. He had lunch.
Billy Graham.
No, I'm not that old. I'm old. I'm not that old. Billy Graham. Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. He was very nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
he had lunch.
I was in 9th grade. Or maybe between 9th and 10th grade. So,
With Billy Graham?
yeah, at my house.
Wow. Okay. Miss Geezer, now don't lie to me. It's a sin.
I can bring pictures.
Oh, you did
Why
not
was it
eat
at
Billy
your
Graham.
house?
That okay? I would tell everyone that.
Yeah.
Like, hi, my name is
That would be like my main point.
So we were living in Belgium, and he was coming for a crusade in Belgium, in Brussels. And my dad was in NATO and was the deputy chairman of the NATO military committee. He was a 3-star general. And my mother wrote to him and invited him to brunch at our home with the members of the military committee, the NATO military committee, and their wives. And he said yes. One of the credos my parents told us when we were growing up was, go ahead and ask. The worst they can say is no. And you can ask either of my bosses if I live by that, and I do live by that. Sometimes they say no, but a lot of times they say no. So yeah, and we do have pictures to prove it. I have a horrible haircut, but other than that. Okay, so these points about Jesus and Christianity are considered to be fact in light of what we know so far. So fact 1 is that the New Testament story is not a legend. It is not a legend. Legends can only crop up generations after the time. So I just was starting 2 Corinthians this morning, and I always, when I start a book, I always get the information about it. It was written in specifically either in 55 or 56. That's a little more than 20 years after Jesus. That's not a long time. I know you think that's a really long time, but at some point you're going to go, wow, 20 years isn't as long as I thought. Fact 2, the New Testament is not a lie. It's not a lie. And as I've said before, nobody dies for a lie that they know is a lie. And they would have known it was a lie. But they saw the risen Christ. So they knew it was true. Fact 3, the New Testament story is not an embellishment. They don't go over the top on the language. There's this one story about Jesus that came along long after, and I think you probably read about it in the book, where Jesus comes out of the tomb with this cross on his back that goes up into the clouds. That's not correct. But it's it doesn't do that. It doesn't embellish things. Okay, we're going to go through these theories of alternate theories of the crucifixion. I'll be doing this again with you next year. I think it's really important for us to understand this. So what is in 3? What is that alternate theory? Yes.
The disciples
Yeah. So the hallucination theory is that they were having a mass why can't I do this? Hallucination. There you go. Hallucination. Sorry. It's sometimes the tongue just doesn't work. So what's wrong with that? Why can that not be true? Yes.
hallucinations aren't experienced by groups of people.
Yeah. I call this the inception theory, where everybody was having the same dream. But there's no such thing as a mass hallucination. They are individual things. You don't have the same.
There is like placebo. I would argue not hallucination necessarily, but it really does make people believe something is not true.
Yeah,
Especially
but
with peer pressure.
I don't think the placebo effect works here. It's not part of it because the person wouldn't have the other person would have to also have that same experience.
I'm
So
saying
it's
like
not.
as if you're peer pressure. Eventually.
Yeah, but this isn't just it. People might have believed it, but it comes on way later. But you don't have the same hallucination. You can't have the same hallucination as someone else.
Yeah.
Because you're not in each other's brains. They come out of your brains, and your brain is
Right.
different than everybody else. So they believed that they had seen Jesus, but they'd all had a common hallucination, and we just said they're individual. So what's number 4? What theory is that? Yes. The wrong tomb theory. What's wrong with the wrong tomb theory? Yes.
Disciples went to the wrong tomb, the rebels of Jews would have went to the right tomb and
Right. Everybody had to get the wrong tomb, right? The guards, the disciples, the women, everybody had to have the wrong tomb. And they knew where the tomb was. And if one person went to a wrong one, somebody else would say, no, it's this one. So, but it also doesn't explain the appearances of Jesus afterward. The empty tomb didn't convince the disciples that Jesus rose from the grave. They were still cowardly. Seeing him alive convinced them that he rose from the dead. What is the swoon theory? Yes.
That Jesus didn't come back, and then he just suffered great injuries and then came back.
I call this the Princess Bride theory. He was not all dead. He was just mostly dead. Yeah. So even enemies, as well as friends, believed that he was dead. The soldiers that did the crucifixions were very good at their job, and so there's no way that that he just swooned, and that spear into his pericardium shows that water and blood coming down. They didn't understand what it was. It was his blood, which happens just after. So when this is a little bit boggling, but when my father was on hospice, they told us that that you'll know it's near. No, death is near when you see red circles on their legs. And for both of my parents, that happened. In fact, we were asleep, and I woke up because when my mother was dying, I woke up because I heard something that she kind of gasped, and I pulled up the covers, and I saw a red, and so I told my sisters, wake up so that we could be with her when she died. So that separating of the white cells and the blood cells happen just as you die, and so that was what happened when they put that in. So obviously, he actually died. And enemies and friends believed that he was dead. Why would the guards even go to the tomb? They weren't believers if he didn't die. So what is the stolen body theory, and why is it a false explanation? Yes.
It's the theory that the disciples